What is good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Joshua from Ray's Reviews, and this is a video that I have never done before, but I have done it a little bit on my social media, specifically my Instagram, Ray's Reviews _23. Make sure you go follow. If yes, but you read that title correctly, I will be kind of reworking the Flash movie that came out a couple weeks ago. And if you saw my review of the film, I said that it was really good. I really did enjoy it. The CGI was obviously horrible, but I thought story-wise it was really good. And if you saw my ranking of all the DCU films, I believe I said that The Flash was like my top 5, was like number 5 on the list. So I really do enjoy it. I think it was very good. But I have seen on like social media, on Reddit, on Instagram and all that stuff, and on YouTube, how people have like had the problems with it and how they felt like the film has not entirely stood loyal to like the Flashpoint storyline, which is in my opinion one of the best DC comics in the world. So I thought just as like a little challenge and stuff, and I just thought as a challenge to, in a way, rewrite the film, the Flash film, to both have it be more loyal to the comic, but to also just like stay its own way with the film. Because I personally did enjoy how they made the Flashpoint storyline, the Flash film, their own version of Flashpoint without fully staying loyal to the comic. I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed how they did it, but I know that there are people who didn't. But so yeah, so without further ado, let's get into it. But if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss another one of my videos. And also make sure you chuck a like on this video if you want me to do more of these videos. I'm definitely interested to do more of these. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to say is that in the context of this film, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom would have come out before this film. Because to this day, I just find it weird how Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is coming out after The Flash, mainly due to the fact that The Flash is meant to be like the end of the DCEU. So in my version, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom already came out, and the only films that would have come out this year are Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and The Flash. Blue Beetle we would save for next year. But so yeah, so I have my notes here, so I'll be able to easily talk about it. So pretty much the beginning of the film is mostly the same. I did like the opening scene where we have like where like the heroes, some of the heroes of the DCU teaming up, obviously Flash and Batman. But I'm making this opening scene a lot bigger by having Barry be called to Gotham, because the League, which consists of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, obviously, Cyborg, and Martian Manhunter, fight against a little group of the Intergang. I did kind of like their role in Black Adam, even though it's not that good of a movie. I did kind of like how we got like a not that well known of a group in that film, so I think it would be cool to have them in here. And if you're wondering why I added Martian Manhunter in this film as part of the League, that is because in my own opinion, the Snyder Cut is the canon film in the DCEU. Justice League can be its own Elseworld story. So this film, the Zack Snyder Justice League, will be the canon film in the DCEU. And if you saw how that film ended, you know that Martian Manhunter technically joined the Justice League. Well, yeah, he willingly let himself join the Justice League, so he's now a part of this team. So, so very much so, while the Justice League is in Gotham facing the Intergang, Flash is pretty much doing what he did in the original film, which was stop the Martha Wayne Institute, Orphanage Institute hospital thing from collapsing, him saving all those kids, all those babies, but with obviously better CGI, while the League is fighting off Intergang. And the reason why I wanted this scene to happen was because I just felt like we needed to have, because this film will be the end of the DCEU, we need to have one final shot of like the Justice League that we know of before James Gunn comes in and makes his own Justice League film. So yeah, so that's why I brought in all these characters. I thought it was really fun. And then after that whole scene is done, we will have the same scene of Barry saying hi to Iris and Barry talking with his father, and we will have the whole flashback of Barry, his mom, and his dad, of how his mom died. That will all stay the same, and Barry will realize that he can travel through time, he can go through the Chrono Bowl. He talks to Bruce about this, and Bruce says no to it. He thinks it's a very bad idea. Barry obviously doesn't listen, and he does it anyway. Now, the way that Barry the way that Barry changes the timeline is going to be different in my version, because while I understand why they did it in the original film, I don't really like how it was all because, like, Barry's mom forgot to get a second can of tomato juice, which was what pretty much caused Barry's dad to leave, and what led to Nora's death. So I didn't really like that. Like, again, I understand why it was like that, but what made it even weirder was that the director, Andy Muschietti, he confirmed that the Reverse Flash was the one who killed him, was the one that killed Nora. So that just made it a little bit more weird for me. So in my version, Barry will stop the killer themselves from getting to his mom. I'm not making it Reverse Flash. I'll just make it some random killer. If you guys have any other ideas of who could kill Barry's mom aside from Reverse Flash, let me know down in the comments. And yeah, so Barry will pretty much stop the killer from getting to his house, which will leave Nora alive, which will keep Nora alive, and then changing the timeline. So Barry changes the timeline, and as he's trying to get back to his time, the Chrono Bowl / Speed Force will begin to get wonky and shoot Barry out of the Speed Force, leaving him in what he believes is the present, but obviously no, it's not. And the reason why I say that the Chrono Bowl will shoot him out was because there will be no Dark Flash twist. That was just something I found really, really weird. I like, even though I liked the design of Dark Flash, I thought Dark Flash's design was really cool. He really served no purpose in this film. It was just pretty much just for multiversal cameos and all that stuff. And I will be getting into the whole multiverse fact of it later on. But yeah, so there will be no Dark Flash, and if you've already seen the Flash movie, you can kind of already put together what this could possibly mean for what's going to happen in the film. So, all right, so that's the end of Act 1. Act 2 will pretty much be a majority of the same, where we have the two Barrys, they meet. Older Barry tries to help get younger Barry his powers, which will lead to our Barry losing his powers and all that stuff. That all will stay the same, and including the part where Barry learns that Zod is on his way, and that all stays the same. So when Barry finds out that Zod is coming, he'll obviously explain to young Barry about what happened the first time, and we'll obviously have that flashback, because I honestly thought that flashback was really good. I really did enjoy that. And Barry tries to figure out, Barry pretty much says that he needs to reform the Justice League. He needs to get the Justice League together, and he does his research, and he realizes that Aquaman doesn't exist. However, Atlantis does exist. However, Orm is kind of like a peace treaty person of Atlantis. He's like trying to be good with the surface world, because in my own headcanon, I feel like Aquaman and Lost Kingdom would end with Orm like accepting that the surface world isn't as bad as his father thought it to be. So I just thought to put that in. Wonder Woman doesn't exist, and Superman doesn't exist. Now, if you're wondering, okay, what about Cyborg and Batman? Barry will learn that Cyborg does exist in this timeline, and he is pretty much known as the superpowered Batman, because something that I really wish that they did in the original film was bring back Ray Fisher. I know that it would have been impossible because of how Warner Brothers treated him and the whole Zack Snyder situation, so I know it would have been impossible for Ray Fisher to come back, but it would have been nice. So in this version, I'm bringing back Cyborg Ray Fisher, and also because that's something that happened in Flashpoint, the Flashpoint comic, where Cyborg was known as like the big hero of the world. So he learns that Cyborg exists, and he also learned that Batman exists, and we will have that scene where the Barrys go to Wayne Manor and try to find Bruce to reveal that it's Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton's Batman will explain to Barry how time works. And this is where I was talking about earlier about the multiverse thing. I personally do not consider this film a multiverse film. Like, say what you will about like how Flashpoint in the comics worked and how it like combined different realities and all that crap. I do not consider Flash a multiverse film. So that's why I said there will be no Dark Flash, because it's pretty much with Dark Flash, that's where we get all those cameos that serve no purpose in the film. So that's the reason for that. What else? But Michael Keaton's Batman will also explain time the same way that he did in the. Okay, one sec. Sorry about that. But a phone call just came through, so I had to check on that. But back to what I was saying. So Bruce will explain to the Barrys how time works, and I really did like that euphemism of the use of spaghetti, and how if you change the future, you also change the past. So I did like that. So that'll stay the same. And our Barry will ask Bruce for help. Bruce will say no, and like for a majority of the film, Bruce's arc, I know a lot of people were saying how Michael Keaton's Batman didn't really have an arc. He was just there for fan service. In a way, I do agree with that, but I also feel like we could have given him, and in a way, the film did also kind of give him an arc, where at first he doesn't want to go back to the world of Batman, but then he realizes that like he's gonna have to do it. But then he realizes that he's gonna have to help them no matter what. So in my version of it, I'm pretty much gonna have Batman have the arc where he doesn't want to go back to being Batman, because he just felt like that was just a hellhole for him, and he came to terms with how being Batman never did anything for him, and the film will slowly progress his story of how he realized that being a hero is what made Gotham safe. Being a hero is what made him who he was. It's what gave Alfred purpose in a way. In the beginning, Bruce will say no, he will not want to help. So the Barrys go to find Cyborg, who at first is hesitant to help because he doesn't really believe them, obviously. But then after he realizes that they're telling the truth, and obviously they look exactly the same, he agrees to help. And at first, Cyborg struggles to find where Superman's pod could be. But with the help of Bruce, they figure out that a pod landed in Russia, so they figure that Superman will be in Russia, and the three of them are about to leave until Batman comes in and says that he knows a way to get into the Russian base, so he goes with them, and we have that whole scene with Batman saying, "I'm Batman," all that stuff. And then the Russia scene, the Russia sequence is pretty much going to be the same, but obviously with the inclusion of Cyborg. So I think it would be really fun to see the dynamic between Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, and Cyborg. I think that would be a fun difference between the two. So that whole scene will be the same, including with the introduction of Supergirl, Kara Zor-El. I absolutely love Sasha Calle in the original film, so I really hope that James Gunn brings her back for the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film. I pray to God that that's the case. So that whole scene will be the same. Kara will be introduced the same way, and Kara's arc was also kind of shown in the original film, but it wasn't really that fleshed out. So I think her arc was pretty much like learning that humanity is worth saving, and it's because of her interactions with Barry and with younger Barry at least, and this one also with Cyborg, because he and her are kind of the same in a way where they are strangers to the world that doesn't fully understand them. So at first, Kara doesn't want to help them stop Zod and all that stuff, and we have that scene between Barry and Bruce, where Bruce talks about how fighting crime thought would bring back his parents, and Barry reveals that he traveled back in time to save his mom. And throughout the film, he's been trying to figure out why he was thrown out of the Chrono Bowl, but he still hasn't been able to figure that out yet. So then the scene where we have Barry try to get his powers back, that remains the same. Kara comes in to help him, and together the group gets ready to go fight Zod. Something that I just decided to put on, something that I just thought of last night while I was making the script or just the plot points for this video, is that I remember is that like in the original film they never really gave young Barry a superhero name, and I thought that was just kind of, even though like there was really no reason to give him a name, I thought it would have been funny to give him at least a superhero name while they were out in the field. And because the Flash has already been taken by obviously older Barry, I thought it would be fun to give younger Barry his own superhero name. And the best I could come up with, and it kind of fits with how young Barry is, and that is the Speed Bat, or Bat Speed or whatever. That's the best I can think of, and it's also kind of like the best way it would. I think that's the best way it would fit young Barry's character. So, but if you guys have any other like ideas of what you would have named young Barry with the Batman suit, let me know down in the comments. I would really like to know what you guys would have come up with. So yeah, so together, Flash, Speed Bat, Cyborg, Supergirl, and Batman, they all come together, and they are the new Justice League, because obviously there's no Wonder Woman and there's no Aquaman. So the five of them, they all go together, and they launch to go fight in the desert. against Zod. Then Act 3 happens, and pretty much that scene is very much it's pretty much going to be the same, obviously, but aside with the inclusion of Cyborg, we find out that Kara is the one who holds the codex inside of her to rebuild Krypton. And it's also revealed, and this is something that I feel like they could have done in the original film, which I really wish that they did, and it could have been where Zod, when Zod reveals that he found Kal-El's pod, he killed them and all that stuff. I thought that was like a really good twist, but I thought, they could have done something different. In my version, when Krypton was about to explode, and both Kara and Kal's pods went away, left Krypton, Kal's pod somehow ends up in the Phantom Zone, and Zod finds Kal, and he trains him to be his most powerful soldier. So in the original film, where we have like that giant Kryptonian monster, that giant Kryptonian soldier, and that like Bruce is fighting, I feel like that could have been a fun way to bring in back Henry Cavill as like that giant Superman, that giant Kryptonian figure. And so I thought that would be really fun. But yeah, so then the sequence would pretty much be Kara dies by being stabbed by Zod. Cyborg dies by being having his head torn off by Feora, which I thought that would have been really cool. And Batman kamikaze uses himself into the Kryptonian ship, one of the Kryptonian ships, to take it down. The Barrys both realize that they can do it again, so they travel back in time to try to save them, all three of them again. But the outcome still goes the same. The outcome comes the same, but in a different way. Kara still gets stabbed by Zod. Cyborg gets ripped to pieces again, and Batman is fatally wounded after trying to take down Kal-El. Our Barry pretty much realizes that there's nothing that they can do, that the world is meant to die, and that's how he realizes that the reason why the Chrono Bowl and Speed Force shot him out and shot him into that time was because he can't go back to the future, because there is no future. On that day, Earth dies. And younger Barry, he obviously doesn't accept that. He doesn't believe that the world is over. They can try it over and over again because they can travel back in time and try multiple attempts. But Barry knows that that can't happen. So here is where I was debating whether or not we should have a fight scene between younger Barry and our Barry. But I just thought that would be kind of stupid. I was debating whether or not to do that. So I just went with the outcome where younger Barry realizes that they can't save the world, and he tells Barry to undo what he did, and that's obviously let his mom die. And the scene where Barry talks to his mother in the supermarket, that scene remains the same. That is by far one of the best scenes in all of the DCU. I'm not changing that scene at all, so that scene's staying the same. But right before Barry says his goodbye, and he then goes to let the killer, he lets his car run. I don't know. I couldn't think of how Barry could stop the killer, but he lets the killer kill his mom, and he lets his father go to prison, knowing that that's the only way to save the world. Now, here is where here's where the epilogue, where it changed. So, in the original film, we had Barry let his mom die and change the timeline a little bit just so his father could be proven innocent and let out of jail. That's obviously led to us seeing George Clooney's Batman. That is not going to happen. My original way I was going to have this film end was have Barry talk to Bruce about everything that happened, and Batman talk about how defeating Darkseid and saving the world from Apocalypse and the anti-life equation could have been the worst thing that could have happened to Barry, and that would have kind of alluded to the fact that this film takes place after the events of a Justice League Darkseid War film, because in this universe we were never going to get that. So I just thought that that's what I originally wanted to do. But then after I finished writing the script, I remembered an event that happened in Justice League Dark Apocalypse War at the ending of that film. And if you remember from what happened at that film, spoilers if anything, I should have just said spoilers at the beginning of this video entirely, but spoilers for Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. If you remember at that film, that film ends with Barry going back in time to cause another flashpoint to reset the universe, which is what leads to the Tomorrow verse that we've been getting for the past 3 years. So the way I'm gonna end, so the way this, and I really did enjoy the way that film ended. So I'm gonna do something in relation to that. Well, I'm pretty much gonna do the exact same thing as that, but it's gonna be a little bit different. So the way that this film will end is that after Barry lets his mom die. He's inside the Chrono Bowl. He's looking around his surroundings to see the timeline change, but he's seeing that it's warping. He's seeing that it's warping even more than he expected it to. Barry is getting worried. He's worrying why. He's getting really scared as to why everything's warping even more. And the film will just end with Barry closing his eyes, obviously running, closing his eyes as the screen turns white. Meaning that the universe that Barry was in has been officially reset, and he doesn't even know what's going to happen. Could this mean that the next time we see Barry Allen in James Gunn's new DC universe, that Barry will just be the same Barry but just recasted? I don't know. Probably will. Or they could just do what they did with the DC animated universe after Justice League Flashpoint Paradox and just have that Barry forget all about Flashpoint until Darkseid Apocalypse War. They could do that, but I don't know if they'll actually be wanting to do that. But yeah, so that's how I would do my film. That's how I would do the film, because I feel like that's how I would end the film, mainly because I feel like the DCEU has been such a mess. I feel like any kind of loose end would have just had to be more confusing. So I just decided just end it with, because Barry changed the timeline again by letting his mom die, by changing the alternate timeline that he made. That would just create a new timeline where some things from the original timeline are the same, come over, and some things from that timeline come over. I don't know. I kind of just wanted to mix that together, because Flashpoint does have some things stay the same and a lot of things change. And with what's happening in James Gunn's DC universe, I really could expect a lot of the Peacemaker characters staying the same, and maybe a couple of the Suicide Squad characters being the same, while Superman, Batman, possibly Wonder Woman are all going to be different. So yeah. So anyway, that was my rant. Well, not really my ranting, but that was my explanation as to what I would have done to change the Flash film to, one, stay more loyal to the comic book, but to also stay true to the film. Because once again, I really did enjoy the film. I liked how they made it different. I just wanted to add like a couple other little twists that would have made it a little bit more fun. And for those who are wondering why I didn't have this be like a multiverse film, is because, as I said before, I don't see the Flashpoint storyline as a multiverse film. And also in the original film, that whole scene where we have like the deep-faked Christopher Reeves, the deep-faked Nick Cage as Superman, that really made no sense to me. I did not understand why they added that. I don't understand why they made that. I think they just wanted like fan service out of that, which when it comes to Warner Brothers, they really don't care anymore. They really didn't care anymore. They just wanted to just throw everything that they could to make that movie like be a success, but it obviously failed. But anyway, that is my video. That's what I would do if I had the opportunity to rewrite The Flash and have it both stay loyal to the comic and to the original film. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video, and let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to do more videos like this. And if you do, let me know what films you would want me to like rewrite or do pitches for. If you don't know, I am interested in doing film. I want to do film in my life. I want to be like a movie director and screenplay writer, so I feel like this could be like a nice test for me to expand on the channel. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video once again, and if you are new to the channel, once again, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss another one of my videos. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much. I'm Joshua from Rage Reviews, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.